let's just jump into it. So we're talking about Always Sunny season 14, the latest season. Some say the best.
Some say the best in a while, for sure. Not the best. Better than the last 4, which were not the best.
I think each season has had like 1 or 2 redeeming episodes, but it's not like, you know, the classic couple of first seasons where there was like a couple of episodes we could all agree would break.
Yeah.
These are mostly like some people will like it, some people will not like it.
Yeah.
It's like hard to find a consensus.
Yeah, there's a lot, like the one where they go to the water park in season 12 or 13 or whatever. A lot of people seem to like. Well, I can't really stand it.
I know we're just going to go right off topic and talk about a different season here, but yes, the water park for me was absolutely terrible. It's that stupid bit where they got stuck in the slide.
Too much talking about people's buttholes getting sucked out.
Hey, the problem isn't talking about buttholes.
Yeah.
The problem is that they were stuck. They did a bottle episode within the slide. Stuck. It's like, why would you go to a water park and not use any of the stuff around you? Like, I must say there was one bit though where they used the slide and like the bottles of water on it, and then Frank scraped his back. I actually did laugh out loud.
That was good,
and that was extremely funny. But the rest of it was quite weak.
The Frank and Charlie part where they're going around the water park actually interacting with each other was good.
Yeah.
But I think in this season, there's one very similar but much worse and much more frustrating. Episode 5, the gang text.
Oh, I spent most of this episode texting myself. Not like texting myself, but texting. Because I was just so fucking bored. I could barely make it through it.
It was terrible. Like, they were trying to do this thing where they're comparing themselves to meerkats and their relationship to how they look out for each other, I guess. And then they also have this weird, confusing, and really frustrating text chain where Mac just was a one-dimensional character. We didn't understand it, and that was his thing. And
he was playing the Charlie of this episode.
Yeah.
They just have like either Mac or Charlie are just like beyond stupid for an episode,
Yeah.
and that's where all the jokes come out of.
Yeah. For some reason, Charlie was much more ahead of the game in terms of texting, even though he can't read. Which they did try and bring up at one point, saying, Charlie, you can't read. But he was reading the entire time. Oh, they were hieroglyphics, so maybe that does.
I think that bit was like mildly enjoyable.
Yeah.
I just think this season Mac has really frustrated me. He's just so one-dimensional and pathetic. He has like no actual like decisions or thoughts of his own.
Yeah.
Like, he's so weak and he's just constantly sucking up to Dennis, which I know is kind of like maybe a side joke in early seasons.
Yeah.
But I think like in the latest season it's just so frustrating just to constantly see like a character that I once was like, I don't know, I saw him as like a heroic type figure, you know, like someone to aspire to be. I'm like, now he's just like pathetically following Dennis and getting slapped by it.
Yeah, and they do they lampshade, they talk about it in the gang shows.
It's just like Mac has absolutely no agency of his own. He's just constantly just trying to please Dennis and following around Dennis, and it's just so frustrating as someone that used to relate to Mac
Yeah.
on so many levels.
In episode, I can't remember what episode it is, where they gang chokes, episode 4 here, where there's a whole thing about Dennis being frustrated at Mac not being able to make any of his own decisions and anything like that, which is just very annoying watching the thing, because they're obviously talking about it. They were like, the writers realize how annoying it is, and they just continue to do it. It's, I don't know.
It's like they don't like. They're constantly acknowledging their own things. Like in the finale, sorry, spoiler alert. When there's a terrible episode when they're playing like Quasar or Laser Tag.
Yeah.
If you call it America's. When they're just like they're talking about and they're like acknowledging like that they're behind the times and they're not really producing the best stuff. That to me was what that episode meant. But I just thought it was like, oh, they're still gonna keep making it and they're just gonna keep pounding out episodes even though they're dog shit. And like, I just think, you know, I'm gonna keep watching the episodes because it's possibly my favorite show of all time. But I'm not happy about it, and it's definitely ruining its legacy. I'm finding it harder to watch the early seasons because I'm struggling so hard with these.
Exactly, especially us two. Our friendship was kind of based on Always Sunny for so long. Well, not really, but like a huge part of it was that the amount of quotes we did. We just rewatched the first 10 seasons over and over and over again.
Yeah.
When they first came to Netflix.
And ever since the new seasons have come out, I think I found this, and all our other friends that also were huge Always Sunny fans, have all pretty much stopped rewatching because it's just kind of been ruined. Because I think I've maxed like a lot of these new episodes. Like I've watched them once or twice, and they've been out 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like I think probably the major point was at season 11.
Yeah.
When it got from there, there's just like there was a couple of really bad episodes.
A good few really bad episodes. Like the characters, they just became. Because the showrunners kind of knew they will laugh at this joke because this character did it. So we just keep making that joke over and over and over again. So Charlie is way stupider. He intentionally stands in dog shit just as a joke, and like it just takes the best parts of the early seasons. So, for example, when Charlie is eating cat food and huffing glue in order to get nauseous enough to fall asleep because there are so many cats meowing outside his window.
Which was great at the
Yeah.
time. And like for some reason, like when you're told that the first time, you're like, it's stupid, but it makes sense. And like it makes sense within those characters and what their decisions would be.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of see like, oh, you know, you eat this cat food, feel a little sick, huff a little glue, get to sleep. I mean, it makes sense.
It's a leap of logic, but it makes sense. But then when Charlie's like, oh, I smell bad, my first reaction is to intentionally stand in dog shit. It just really just rubbed me the wrong way, and it goes to show how kind of one-dimensional the characters have been.
And they've all just become, you know, they keep repeating, you know, they keep essentially just rehashing the same episodes. Because I know they've made a joke of it, saying the gang recycles are trash.
Yeah.
Where they, you know, redid the whole team dynamic and, you know, grouped as a scheme. But, you know, like, and that worked. Because it was like the first time they did it. But like when they said like Frank falls out the window, and in that episode, it's just like, they literally redid all the jokes, but in somehow a way worse way.
Yeah. It just... Especially like the Dennis aspect as well, the way he it was kind of alluded to that he might be up to some like dark shenanigans, or like when he had all the cable
zip ties and yeah, I have to have my tools.
Yeah, that was funny, but now he's like an out and out serial killer, and they've acknowledged it, but it's just not being. It lost all its subtlety. Like it's completely just on the nose. And
well, I just back to the season previously, which to be honest, we should separate this into a different episode. But when they did Charlie's Home Alone, I think that was possibly the worst episode I've ever seen of all time. I just could not handle like the fact that he was like horrifically injuring himself like time and time again, and there's no continuation of it. You know, when Charlie gets hit with a car in the first season, you know, he's on crutches for a couple of episodes afterwards.
Yeah.
It like makes sense. He was bumped by a car. He didn't step on 5 nails and knock himself out multiple times. It just doesn't make any sense. They're like cartoon characters.
yeah, it really is. This lost all the believability it had.
It's like they foreshadowed the fact that it would become a cartoon. You know, when they had the cartoon episode. You know, when Charlie became a character from Up, and now they literally have become cartoon characters.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
And then another giant problem is I think they try all these unique episodes, and I think they're a little bit like musical episodes. But say in the janitor mops twice, and that one I just like I couldn't concentrate. Oh, I'm pretty much saying this for every episode. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't really follow it, didn't really care that much because it was just like a made up nonsense episode.
Yeah.
And it was like they tried to do like Charlie Day, where they drew like a whole new way of doing an episode, which like mixing things up, trying to be different, a bit like The Simpsons.
Yeah. Well, I disagree with that. I think obviously it's kind of always had like kind of novel things like that. They'd have one murder mystery episode where they're trying to piece back together a night, where they all drowned out and they all have to kind of piece it together.
But that was still real things that actually happened, not an actual nonsense like detective episode.
Yeah.
Where it was just completely imaginary.
Yeah. Well, in the example you used earlier on, where Charlie imagined himself as the character from Up, the gang gets robbed, or the gang's at the convenience store and they get robbed.
True.
I think the problem isn't the idea of a novel episode; it's the execution, which is almost always done very poorly these days.
That's absolutely. I would agree there. But then I'm still like, if they did an episode where Charlie was a character from Up, I would hate it. I think this would be a nonsense waste of time, and it doesn't mean anything to the story. But if it eats them imagining their own fantasy, and even when I think back to that, like I like that episode, but it doesn't have as much rewatch value as early episodes.
That's true.
And the gang's just like solidly following a scheme and fucking stuff up.
Yeah, well, I think the following the scheme they've really dropped off on. I think nowadays it's mostly they'll pick some overly convoluted way of talking about an issue, and they use too many allusions, too many metaphors, and it gets really muddy. An example of this would be when they're talking about the woman's right to chop, and they use cutting hair as another word.
An allegory for was it allegory, metaphor?
Yeah,
a metaphor for abortion.
Abortion, and like just a woman's right to control her body, and then they have chopping hair in the same scene mean both adoption and abortion, and somehow like just carrying on your hair and not enjoying it. Like they use it in the same scene. This is the used car or the car scene, and it gets so confusing and just It reminds me of when they're talking about the abortion in season 1, when they then like the gang swap sides. I think it might be. I can't remember fully, but when
Yeah, so it was Charlie wants an abortion, you know, where he thinks he's gotten his high school girlfriend pregnant.
Yeah.
And she said he's got that really nasty kid that's actually in every show. He's actually in the US office as Meredith's kid, as a piece of shit. Just an unlucky face, I think.
Actually, I think this episode's a bad example of what I was saying. I was talking more about the gun episode, Gun Fever.
Yeah.
Where they
both take two sides and then they end up switching.
Yeah, they lightly show the downfalls of each side.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a brilliant centrist kind of move, which I think probably isn't as relevant anymore. Also, they're actually talking about guns, and they're talking about guns in like a way. And they actually did the Gun Fever 2 episode, which was still quite good as well.
Yeah.
But they're actually talking about guns, and it's not just a bunch of weird metaphors for guns and abortion and all sorts of things.
Yeah, the centrist kind of thing died with, I think, South Park.
Yeah, even South Park's not centrist anymore.
Yeah.
It does like the climate change is real kind of thing, and it's just like it's funnier to talk about the fact that they were wrong about it than it is to take two sides on it and kind of take the middle ground.
But I do like, especially in Gun Fever as an example, the way they do talk about they don't overly complicate it. They just have like, oh, this side might see like this problem, this side might see that problem, and that's why they think that, rather than, and like another example of like one of the most recent seasons would be when they Time's Up or whatever, the gang gets Me Too.
Yeah.
Where they just kind of.
I thought that was still one of the better episodes.
It was one of the better episodes, but it was still like overly
still not saying much at all.
Yeah. But then if we bring it back to this season 14, okay, so the gang gets romantic.
Yeah, I guess we'll go. We'll go episode by episode.
Yeah.
So the gang gets romantic. I just could not stand them confusing the word meet cute for meet cube. I mean, maybe I can see some sort of joke, but like, it was so weak at the same time.
It falls prey to the Charlie being very one-dimensional, just not hearing something, and they know it works because they had spa day for spaghetti day, which is funny back in the day, but that was 10 years ago.
And also, like, I think we're using the same jokes. It's like, you've got the same fans. We repeatedly watch every episode, so it's not like we're gonna, you're using the same joke. Yeah, and there's not that many episodes, so we're definitely gonna remember. And we're all like, I think Always Sunny fans are definitely a lot more devoted than other fan groups. So I think they just need to be more original and stuff. I think there was the two main plots. There was the Charlie meet cube situation with the German guys, Austrian guys. I thought that was okay. There was that one bit when they were in the bed with the old man, and I actually found that quite funny. I actually did laugh out loud for that, which for me is like the ultimate qualifier of like a decent joke.
I think that kind of B plot was very good. But the A plot of the very predictable twist of Teddy not being someone they were cheating on, but like someone related to them, someone who died.
It had to be a dead child. I was not that glued in for that episode, and I still knew as soon as they started talking about I miss Teddy, I was like, it's obviously their kid or their pet. And then I think as it showed like it was more serious, it was going to be their kid because they want to go for shock value. And I thought the way they all had like different attempts at it, maybe like could have been funny, but the execution could have been better.
Yeah, and especially the way the dialogue was written between the MacD and Dennis. It was just so forced, the entire thing, and it wasn't. It was somewhere in between a scheme and I don't know what. It was just.
It had a lot of Mac explaining things, and when there's a lot of Mac explaining things, it's almost as bad as when it's just Mac pathetically trying to please Dennis. Like, the two of those things together are just like they're like two very weak points for Mac. Maybe Mac is quite weak at the moment, so maybe that's the problem.
But even the difference between this Mac and the next episode Mac,
two
completely different people, and they're completely at odds with each other. Like the problems that Dennis says Mac has are completely nullified in this episode, where he is taking charge. The whole thing is his idea. He's trying to like conduct everything, be the director, and it just.
Because they even did have an episode where they were like, where they were each deciding what their place is in like the A team. It's like, we confused your bossiness for smarts. And it's like, Mac is bossy. That's part of his character. Also, in like early seasons, he makes so many of his own decisions. and he's following his own storyline. He's not just. I think the two focused on the characters. I think that would be a major flaw for this season. It's just like they stick to the couple of characters they have, and they keep reusing the same jokes they have around those characters, and even like the extra ones were just to jump to D-Day. I know it's episode number 3. But you know, the waiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the episode with the waiter.
That was
Frank
Gang Chokes. So it was the next episode, the Gang Chokes.
Oh, sorry. Okay, well, to jump to the Gang Chokes, the waiter they keep bringing in the same side character. And the first time and the second time they brought him back, I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, oh, it's just getting a bit ridiculous. Like, I know it's not meant to be the most realistic show, but I still feel like they keep repeating the same.
Yeah.
And it's also like, it's just not realistic at all. Back to the fact that Charlie like heavily maimed himself in the previous season, and
Yeah.
there's no sign of it now.
It definitely it's at the edge of reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so if you were to go back to the first episode, what would you rate it out of 10?
Out of 10,
Okay, so for The Gang Gets Romantic, what would you give it out of 10?
I would probably give it a 5 or 6, maybe 5.5 if we're allowed to do half.
I guess it depends what I'm comparing it to, but within this season, probably a 7. Within any regular season, probably 5.5, 6.
Yeah, compared to its prime,
Yeah.
it's low, but it's not as egregious as some of the other ones.
Okay, so this one I actually haven't watched, so I'm quite ashamed of this.
Thundergun 4 maximum.
You're gonna have to run point on this one.
So this one, it's another one where they're very opaquely talking about an issue of kind of like viewers of media are very entitled and they're very stubborn. They only want to watch something in the way they want to watch it, and yet they're not actually paying to see anything. They're pirating everything. So it's like a focus group where the gang isn't a focus group, and they're talking about the new kind of updated version of Thundergun, where they're introducing a new character and his son is going to be replacing him, and there's a strong female lead, and they have loads of points where Dee is talking about how she doesn't like female leads because she wants to be prettier than them and smarter than them and funnier than them. And it's I don't know, it just
So it's just talking about like remakes and mixing in with recasting classics with female leads. See, I think my problem is for a lot of these episodes, although I'm talking about one I haven't even watched, but I think a lot of them they're following too closely to what's happening at the moment. And they're trying to stay too current, and it's like when you're starting to stay current, it just goes bad so quickly.
Yeah.
It's just constantly updating. Like I don't think the early seasons they weren't exactly following the news. Always Sunny's trying to do South Park, but South Park is very specifically tailored to it, and even then Always Sunny or South Park often gets caught out by it, but they produce an episode a week.
Yeah.
And I also think they're a lot more clued into stuff.
Yeah.
I think the Always Sunny writers are a bit more behind, a bit slower, and a bit clunkier when they do this kind of thing. And I just feel like if they're trying to reference remakes, it just comes across as clunky. Just like when we talk about texting.
I agree and disagree. Like this is another example of when they have just too many elements in the plot. They're trying to talk about the girl character, trying to talk about like Charlie doesn't understand literally anything, and like that's the joke the entire time.
It's classic.
It's fine. I give it maybe a 4 out of 10.
Ooh, that's not fine.
Middling cool.
Okay, so D-Day then. This is one of your favorites because I remember when I hadn't watched the season yet. And you were like, you have to watch the season, and you were like, watch D-Day. So I pretty much jumped straight to D-Day, and that's kind of why I haven't watched Thundergun. Yeah, that's why I blame you for not watching it. But yeah, I did quite enjoy D-Day, and it wasn't just because you told me to like it.
I really liked D-Day. D-Day was because the first 2 episodes were kind of middling. I wasn't hopeless at that point about the season. Whereas like in maybe season 12 and 13, the first couple episodes I thought were real stinky. But D-Day really gave me a lot of hope for the rest of the season. So
I think as possibly outdated as they are, I thought the racial stereotypes were really well done.
Yeah.
I thought like it's just like the way they brought back all these characters. It's not something they've ever done before.
Yeah.
They were all they had a very small part to play, but the fact that they all came back as the characters was very, very enjoyable.
Yeah, and it had a definite way of like Dee was manipulating them the entire time, and like it was her kind of idea. It was very well done, the kind of scheme.
Mm-hmm.
But the racial stereotypes, I think they definitely brought attention to the fact that they're like outdated and stuff like that, and like they didn't want to be in those kind of costumes.
Yeah.
But they were doing it anyway, and that's the right way to kind of talk about a subject that you shouldn't do and do it. Like,
Yeah, but
Have your cake and
it's
eat it
still
too.
funny, it's still enjoyable.
Yeah.
But they acknowledge the issues with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually also really like the way we were talking about like these characters that are just incredibly stupid, or like if it'll be Charlie or Mac, just
Yeah.
become incredibly stupid for an episode. This is an episode where I felt like most of them had their own kind of agency, and they
Yeah.
were all making their own decisions and trying to scheme and like thinking for themselves.
Yeah, they're driven by actual believable things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, it still had the same problem with the scheme, where the scheme was some nonsense. Well, actually, the scheme made more sense at the end, but it was a bit like I want to say Carmine's Place for Steaks, kind of a really convoluted like scheme that didn't really make any sense. Or you know, when they try and get the car out of the lot with being frank,
Yeah.
it kind of reminded me of that, where the scheme's in the background.
Yeah.
So even though the scheme wasn't main, still really enjoyed it.
And the scheme, you knew it was doomed to fail, and it wasn't really. It's an interesting scheme, but it was kind of put in the back burner to the antics, and it's been a while since, like, you know, when they kind of like bicker, they argue amongst themselves, but it feels very like, kind of scripted and very written.
Yeah, this one felt more natural.
Yeah, the oysters versus clams.
That was quite enjoyable.
It was maybe a little bit ham-fisted, but I did really. And then when Frank was dressed as Martina Martinez, and he was just retching in the middle of the thing.
I think Frank retching or making gargling noises is always very, very enjoyable. I think they really bring that into it. I bet they're going to overuse it the season after this, though.
They've
I
already,
mean,
yeah,
they
they've
probably
used it at least
overused
3
it this.
times.
Yeah, this season they've used it enough, and I'm like, that's probably enough Frank retching.
Yeah.
But I know they're going to keep bringing it back because it's probably one of the only high points of the season.
Yeah, it does kind of remind me back in the day when like Charlie, or when Mac was kind of talked about as being gay, and then they had a couple of times where he came out of the closet or he did a few things, but then they just kind of drove it into the ground.
It's because they kept alluding to it first couple of seasons. Then he actually came out, which was also quite enjoyable. And he went back in, and then he did it again. And yeah, I think they're just going to keep doing it until the point where Frank is just like a horribly sick, retching person all the time.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be constantly getting sick, just like the way Charlie's constantly hurting himself in horrific ways because they have to keep ratcheting it up another notch.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to give D-Day a rating,
I'd probably get it maybe a 9 out of 10. I really liked it that much.
okay, is that within this season or within?
Within overall.
Wow.
Yeah. I think this might be one of my top 10 episodes.
Wow. Okay. Well, I would be probably 8 within this season, 7 within the other seasons, because I enjoyed it, but I still felt like it was a little bit, was still lacking. A lot in terms of like how much I enjoyed the characters, and I thought when Dennis didn't have any makeup, it was kind of funny, but it wasn't always Sunny at its best.
Yeah.
And it was also once again a little bit ridiculous that he looked horrible when he didn't have makeup. But I actually did quite enjoy that, so I wouldn't have that many complaints. So yeah, 7.5, probably on an average day. 8 for this season.
Yeah.
Okay, so the gang chokes.
The gang shows, it had a few high moments and a few pretty low moments. I did like the way they're kind of coming back and like finally again actually doing something with it, making an episode about him.
Yeah.
Rather than like just the same joke over and over, but they don't recognize him.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he falls.
Yeah.
Where, but like in this, they kind of talked about him. Frank moved into him, but it really the way that plotline kind of devolved towards the end really came out of nowhere. And the way, remember Frank, he found out that his mum didn't actually want the waiter's mum didn't actually want to go to an old person's home, and then Frank thought that the waiter was being a bad person by sending him in there.
That felt a little bit like they were writing up the story, then they realised they were out of space, and then
really
they just
did,
were like, "Oh,
yeah.
let's just fuck everything up," even though it didn't really make a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
I wanted them to go further personally with the whole him going to pilot school and Frank living with him. I think that was quite enjoyable, and I would have liked to see where that could go.
Yeah.
A little bit like when Frank joins that group, like he finds the new guy in the new bar.
Yeah.
I was hoping they do kind of a thing like that, but they ended up just rushing it back to Gugino's or wherever they were going for dinner again.
Yeah. They kind of like pulled the rug out from under him, which I get that was part of the episode. Is like the way they didn't see it coming at all, and that was kind of like the end for him and nothing he could do. But as the viewer, it felt equally as frustrating.
Yeah, I pretty much felt like the waiter in that situation.
Yeah.
I can't really remember what Dee and Dennis
Dee is a
do.
thrill seeker. She climbs up walls. She scales the facade, and she like nearly gets killed. She says a load of racial slurs to.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
That bit was kind of funny. Oh, and Dennis keeps passing out, and then they make special shakes.
That's ridiculous. I hated. Actually, now that I think of it, I hated that part. That was so frustrating because they made Dennis. all of a sudden, just like a weak, invalid per like he had no. I get maybe the only thing I can think of. The only time I can think of Dennis being portrayed as that weak a character is when he, in season 7, I think it is, Mac and he are being tested by a doctor, and Dennis says he's been doing hummingbirds the entire time.
I actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. And he had really like the wrestling heart rate was incredibly high.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact like there was no other point. This kind of
And he's never been lactose intolerant. They've been drinking milk for ages. Or he's like gluten intolerant. I thought they were just kind of jumping on the bandwagon of that. Oh, everyone's gluten intolerant.
yeah.
Um,
He's
and
intolerant to literally everything. He doesn't want to eat pizza. Whereas like the episode before, or like there's a million times where he's had no problem doing that. It's too dramatic of a character shift. I get like the way he's weak could have been done over time.
Yeah, but also they've kind of made the weak jokes before. Yeah, the allergies doesn't make any sense. It was classic, just they needed a joke in a certain way, so they just invented an illness and they're going to forget about it the next episode.
Yeah.
Maybe bring it back in like a season if they need another joke about it.
Yeah.
But I felt it was another just like cheap joke driven in. And I would say that bit was like, there was some kind of funny bits, but overall I thought like that episode for me was like quite weak, especially the dinner at the end where they're all trying to force each other to eat it. Or let's eat blue things.
The blue things, I forgot about that.
It did get sort of a cheap laugh out of me, but I didn't feel good about it because it was just another ridiculous thing when Frank wants to eat something blue. And I did kind of find it funny that he kept serving sort of blue slop to the waiter.
Yeah, if you say like the best things in restaurants are blue cheese, whatever. That's like a funny throwing throwaway joke. Like the whole episode based on it's terrible. And also the fact that they were redoing a plot line from before where remember Frank kept Dee sick, so she would depend on him.
That was actually pretty good.
It was done well back then, but it's the exact same thing now. And also, like, as if just mixing up, it's just like it implies that Dennis eating like a slice of pizza would like cripple him, like for the entire week. It is ridiculous.
Oh, okay, so
I thought I
give me a
liked the
rate.
episode,
and then as soon as we remembered the episode, that was
Yeah.
quite forgettable. We've now realised you do not like it as much. What would you give it out of 10?
I give it 4.
Oh,
maybe
God, you are
3. I think.
I think it had some good parts. I'd probably give it a 6 for this season, a 5 for a general Always Sunny standard.
Right.
Okay, the gang texts.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I thought the premise of it should have had a B plot.
Oh, also the fact that they're at the zoo, awesome. There's so much you can do with this. I got as excited as I did for the gang goes to the water park, and then they did very little. I think it's them being a little cheap, where they don't really want to use a lot of like.
Yeah.
But there's just so much stuff that can happen in a zoo. You know, like they could get lost in an enclosure or do something like
Yeah,
that. There's just like so much stuff.
They could have had like a reptile section episode, and they could have done as like so much more with it than just going like being in the zoo and texting. They could literally at the park, but I guess that is kind of they wanted the viewer to.
Also, the meerkats, like that wasn't really relevant. Didn't really make any sense. They never alluded to it before. They could have maybe done something about like they call him Frank a monkey. Maybe they could have done something with that.
They did have Frank kind of get not outsmarted by the gorilla, but that was so predictable as well.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I'm leaving this banana down. Why would this big stupid ape come out?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was once again like very predictable. This whole episode I barely concentrated for. I really couldn't.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of Mac being pathetic and stupid. He just played the role of Charlie.
Yeah.
We've already spoken, I guess, a good bit about this episode, and there's not a huge amount to say.
The Dee getting run over by the goats was fine.
That was okay.
Dennis getting an erection when talking about a lion eating a animal. That was fun.
Yeah. Okay, well, I would just say, what do you give it out of 10?
I'd give it a 2.
Oh yeah, I was thinking
Maybe 3.
4 for this season, 3 for overall, maybe a 2, possibly. Not an episode, not one of the, I would say, worst 5 ever episodes, definitely. Of course, all worst 5 episodes are within the last 4 seasons. But yeah, I would say like between a 2 and a 3 overall.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking weak. Okay, Janitor Always Mops Twice. This is another one that we've kind of spoken about a little bit already. Yeah, black and white film noir. I think you had a little bit more fondness for this than I did.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one quite a lot. I think this is probably the second best out of this whole season, maybe well, towards the top end. I think you are right. Like if they set up maybe, Charlie got a concussion or like something like why are we thinking this? Like, why is this episode like that? It would be better, or maybe more kind of followable. But I think didn't really have that problem with me. I think overall film noir aesthetic it pulled off really well, like surprisingly really well.
Yeah, it did look nice.
Yeah, it sounded pretty nice, like the way they were talking, good dialogue.
Yeah, to be honest, the dialogue wasn't as clunky as other episodes. I did quite enjoy Mac and Dennis's kind of in and out.
Yeah.
As a sort of like, yeah, and trying to like choke him out. And, you know, I think some bits were classic, but for me, I think it's a bit like musical episodes, although I actually did quite like The Gang Turns Black. Me in general, I think musical episodes and clip episodes, I have absolutely no time for because they're not real story and they're not real, they don't mean anything. I think that's probably my big problem with a lot of the new seasons, is it just doesn't mean anything. And I found this episode kind of meaningless because I felt at the end of it, I just wanted to get past it.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that. I feel like the whole show has been meaningless. But I did like what I did like in this episode as well is Charlie and the Waitress. I think that was pretty good. The whole cherries thing.
Actually, I did quite enjoy the cherries joke as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, poisoning the cherries, and the scheme kind of made sense.
Frank had diarrhea poisoning.
Frank getting ill, another incredibly funny thing to have.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's always when Frank gets injured. It's incredibly funny. He's a great actor.
He's a great actor.
Okay, so if you were to give it a rating,
I'd give it a 7.5 maybe.
Okay, well, I would give it maybe a 5 for this episode, a 4.
Oh, okay.
So that's like probably the most divergent episode for the two of us. Like, that's just because of my weird hatred of episodes that don't mean anything.
It is funny as well. I didn't like The Gang Turns Black.
Yeah. I just enjoyed the music, I guess. But yeah, at least in a real storyline, sort of. And then it was sort of imagination. But anyway, okay. So the gang solves global warming.
Gang solves global warming. This is one where they kind of over-explain. They have a few issues. Well, like too many issues. They have global warming. And they have too many issues to talk about in a thing. So I think they should have picked maybe one or two aspects of it rather than talking about like having like the bar being microcosm for the world and trying to like brute force the way things have gone into the bar.
Yeah, I guess I think it was an episode that you could pretty much look at without any real huge meaning. Like the way they were like, once again, they kept trying to use weird metaphors like let's slow dance or let's not use the earth stuff too much or people are crazy. But yeah, overall there was a couple of good jokes. I did really enjoy the fact that Dee and Charlie had to go back on a bus.
Yeah.
I did enjoy bringing back the bus heavy breather guy who slightly got sick on himself. Every time I'm in a bus, I just think about that. It's so relatable.
Yeah. I did like the Dee and Charlie aspect, especially Dee's like performative wokeness.
Oh, but at the same time though, I thought they were being too up to date, too Instagrammy. It didn't really make any sense to anyone that like follow or uses Instagram. It didn't make a huge amount of sense, and also I felt like once again just trying to be too current.
It was. I thought it was good though. Overall, I didn't really get the metaphor of the fish factory across the street, and especially when they came into the thing and they were kind of wading in water and dropping their
fish guts. I think that was just a joke. I think it was just like maybe it was something about like it's the foreign countries that are the problem, and now they realize it's not the foreign countries, it's the Americans.
Yeah.
Crazy people. Maybe that was the metaphor they were talking about. But
dropping stuff in the ocean, I guess.
Oh yeah. And the fact that the fish factory guys. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It seemed like a lot of different ideas floating around. Not that easy to figure out. Not particularly funny. I think maybe.
Which I'm not against. I do like the kind of having veiled metaphors like that can work for sure. Like the gang desperately tries to win an award. One of my favorite episodes of all time. And that's even. It took me like 2 or 3 rewatches before I realized it was actually about the gang trying to win an award.
I'm pretty sure I was just told by you or someone else.
You told me, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I was told by somebody else, and then I was like, oh my god, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I could never, because I don't follow the Emmys, I don't know what they,
Yeah.
So I didn't know it was a relevant thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was brilliant when you realize it.
We were both like 15.
Yeah. So that's fair.
It's like nearly 10 years ago.
It's true, it's a different time.
Time. But like, the way the fish factory across the road was like 2 or 3 different metaphors. at different points kind of muddle things up.
I don't think they really know what they're trying to say. I think they're just throwing out a bunch of stuff and people can interpret their own sort of thing, like that art episode with the canvas, you know?
Yeah.
People can interpret their own kind of meaning onto it.
Yeah.
I still thought there was like some enjoyable parts. I thought like it was predictable when they had a riot. It was just like, you know, classic, oh, it's all a big disaster and they don't make any money.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they don't have any money problems anymore makes things a bit more irrelevant because Frank just bails them out constantly. They're not actually looking to make any money for the bar like they were in the beginning.
Yeah. When I was watching the first episode again, where they have the club promoter, and it turns into a gay club, and then they're kind of conflicted. It's a different time. But they definitely seemed like the money meant a lot more for them then. So they needed to get the scheme to succeed.
And they have more reason to make decisions. In this one, it's like their only reasons are all sort of weird, sort of like personal reasons for why they want things. Or
you want to meet cute for Airbnb for some reason, for literally no reason, other than you think it'd be cool.
Okay, so gang solve global warming. Give me a rating.
It's fine. 5.5 maybe.
Yeah, I'll probably give it like a 6 for the season, maybe a 6.5, and then 5.5 for overall episode, because it's definitely better than some other 5s, and it was more watchable. And there was some bits where I kind of laughed a little bit, like the ice melting was kind of funny.
Yeah,
I guess a little bit. But yeah, the storyline get convoluted. Okay, woman's right to chop. I think we've spoken about this a bit already.
Yeah.
But yeah, about like haircuts and kind of you all once again using this as a metaphor for a lot of different things.
Yeah, it's when it first started out, it's just I didn't like it. I mean, we said all.
We've talked about this enough, and frankly, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'd probably give it like a 4. 4 for this season and a 3 for a regular season.
I'd give it maybe a 2.
Yeah. Oh, just like very, very few good jokes. Oh, and actually the bit about I was gonna say Patches, but dog.
Oh, Pippin or
Pickles.
Poppins.
Poppins. Yeah. Was pregnant and it was a man, it was a woman. I thought that was maybe kind of funny. Probably the stronger part of the episode.
Yeah.
But still not great. Oh, I did enjoy the return of Duncan from On the Bridge.
Yeah, he was good.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, this is funny. It's like my favorite episode with Duncan actually. Of Duncan.
Oh, I know. I like the hitting this up like a mug.
That is a great quote.
Yeah. Oh, we should have chosen a less intense black guy. Yeah, I thought that was a probably silver lining in this episode, but overall still.
Actually, I did. Yeah, actually that's a good point. I think if the episode wasn't about Dee or women's hair, it was just about Mac's dog being pregnant. I did also
use that as a metaphor for abortion. Yeah.
Yeah, where like that was a way less muddy, and like when Frank and Dee went to the auto shop or the car shop, and they were talking about the hair, and he was like, "Oh, because it was both an abortion and adoption at the same time, within like the same sentence." It was confusing.
Trying to be too clever. I think they're trying to just like this whole thing of like, oh, so that's why thinking this and abortion is stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like the Poppin stuff was stronger, the jokes were stronger, but overall a very weak episode.
And it spelled it out like pretty much when Charlie said, "I thought you were pro-life," and Max said, "I am, but this affects me."
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
That's a pretty good line.
Yeah.
Okay, so Paddy's has a jumper. This one not that memorable for me, but probably still one of the better episodes.
It's solid.
Yeah, when Frank thought it was his, or when he thought Frank was his dad, pretty enjoyable there.
Yeah.
Also, completely different building than they've ever been on before. Because as we can all remember, in The Gang Gets Kidnapped, one of the McPoyles falls off the building, and the building's like maybe 2 stories.
It was 1 story. Yeah, it was. I could not stop thinking about that as well.
And all of a sudden, there's this like towering block. I'd say like 30 stories up.
It was 3 stories. Yeah,
but it was 3 stories.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, it looked like 30. But like I don't know.
It was very noticeable that it was. Because we know someone has fallen off the building before.
Yeah, no, multiple people fallen off the building.
For fun. Like they jumped off, like kind of hurt my ankles. But it's fine.
Yeah. Oh god, like I just another huge change in like everything. And it wasn't a subtle one. It was very noticeable.
Honestly, that's relatively. I'm more okay with that than
if the jumper had been off a 1-story building.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a bit of a debate, like would the guy die in the watermelon? Kind of funny.
That was, and then they had the whole thing about like taking the humanity out of decisions and like facts above feelings and all that. But it was also kind of, I don't know. They kept going on about how good the algorithm was, and like this just doesn't. they're just talking too bluntly. Like, it's not believable dialogue at all.
No, regular people don't talk like that. Always Sunny characters originally didn't talk like that. I just once again just talking about technology and trying to be too current, talking about Netflix, that kind of thing. It's just
Yeah.
like I just think it's going to age really badly, and we're watching it currently, and we're still not enjoying it. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine what we'll think of it in a couple of
Yeah.
years.
Overall, I'd probably give it a maybe 6.5 out of 10.
God, we were very negative on it for giving it 6.5.
I was pretty positive the entire time.
Oh, okay. Well, I would probably give it like a 5.5, maybe 6 for this season, 5.5, 5 for overall. Okay, so then the big finale, waiting for Big Mo. You've been waiting for this big moment.
This episode, I did not really like.
It's something to do with the finales of the last couple of seasons. Like, they've been really bad. Like when the boat episode part 2, or the
Oh
classic
my
fucking
God.
bottle episode.
The gang,
I love them.
Yeah, the gang dies.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
And this was another where they were in a laser tag place, and somehow it was also a bottle episode, which is now them talking to each other. Like, how good would it have been if they'd actually been facing another group in laser tag
Yeah.
and actually trying to beat them?
Yeah. It was,
Or being 2 separate teams, maybe with some extra guest stars on each team, like, or like just throwing them at quills on somebody's team, the Ponderosas on another, or the one
Yeah.
Ponderosa that's left. It felt like it was just like another one where they were just chatting in sort of weird metaphors. God, this season's just been full of terrible.
This was
weird
huge. The whole episode was just so convoluted. For a moment, I did think that the twist would be a twist and Big Mo would be more in Ponderosa. I kept thinking, oh, who is Mo going to be? Big Mo.
Just some fat kid. Like.
It was just some regular kid. It wasn't that good. But the whole episode, I thought, was about like being on the treadmill of capitalism, where the Franklin D. Rutherford, where he was his books. They were trying to earn his books, which was just like it was
Self-sustaining economy, of course.
yeah, whereas like that's standing for money, and then the way Dennis was kind of coercing the other two, Dennis and Dee, into doing anything by any means, getting the money.
Yeah.
And then it just
They're all really stupid again, like apart from Dennis who's making the decisions.
yeah.
They could have done with more like Frank had some like greasy sausages in his pocket.
It was I did kind of like the way Frank's thing just wasn't turned on.
I did laugh at that.
Yeah.
That was quite enjoyable. Like once again, like one funny moment in the whole episode. Possibly.
Yeah, kind of he was oblivious and he wasn't even playing.
Yeah.
Which I get, it does kind of fit in the metaphor for old people, I guess, or disabled people.
They're never even playing the game.
Yeah.
Okay, waiting for Big Mo. What rating did you give it?
That's a good riddle. I'd give it maybe 6, 5.5, 6.
I'm gonna jump in.
Wasn't that?
I would give it a 4.5 for this season, maybe a 3.5 overall. So yeah, what would you give this entire season if we were gonna go season by season?
I consider this phase 2, Sonny. Phase 1 is before season 10, or maybe this is phase 3 after. Anyway, but this for the current season, current kind of era, this was better than average between season 10 and 14. I would give this maybe a 7 out of 10.
Oh wow. Okay, well you can think of it. I think the turning point is like when Matt turns fat. That for me is when the episodes started changing. I started season 7, so we're halfway through. And there was like still a lot of good episodes, and it got really bad in season 10.
Yeah.
But for me, there was a couple of bad episodes appeared around 7, 8 maybe, and you could see it's like going downhill. So I'd go like BF, like BC, but BF,
Yeah.
before fat, and then as AF after fat.
Yeah.
I would give this maybe 5.5, 6. I'll give it a 6.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely better than some of the other seasons. But I didn't really get a huge amount of enjoyment. I don't think I'll be rewatching any of the episodes.
Yeah, there might be one or two I'll pick out. The
D-Day.
D-Day I really liked.
I might give. Well, there's a couple I didn't concentrate for. I think I'd like to give it another shot, just in case there's any funny jokes that I missed.
Yeah.
But the storyline's not gonna draw me back in.
No, there's only, I think D-Day for me is an essential episode, but I think there's nothing else. Like the rest of this whole series might be skipped.
Yeah. Like if you were to be honest, if you were looking to still have some respect for Always Sunny, I would just watch D-Day, or probably just maybe stop at season 10.
Yeah, it's kind of the same as Game of Thrones, where it just kind of ruined its legacy towards the end. You just wish it was just stop or be better.
Yeah. Well, I think being better is like we're well past that. I kept thinking, you know, like I was mentioning this, like the last season of Workaholics. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, but for me, I was like, oh, they've only got one season left. They're gonna give it their best shot. And it was, by God, it was the worst season by an absolute mile.
Yeah.
It was so bad, like all really unwatchable stuff. And it was like you'd think like they put a bit of effort into their final season.
It's a shell of what it used to be. It's a
Yeah.
husk.
Alright, well, that's season 14.
Thanks for listening.